So I was laying in bed the other night and just thinking about the engine, thinking about the build that's going on right now, and it occurred to me that I missed a very crucial part when I was working on the M52. For those of you that aren't very familiar with the M52 engine, what we are looking at right now is the oil pump assembly, and more specifically, the oil pump sprocket and the nut that holds it on. When these engines are running at high RPM for extended periods of time, these nuts are known to be able to back off. So I had my buddy Daniel come over the other day and he helped me safety wire this nut onto the sprocket itself. This nut is reverse threaded, so if it was to loosen, it would be loosening clockwise, but with this lock wire right here, this nut will not be able to back off. The plan of action today though is to start taking off all the small bits that are gonna be getting in the way when I go to clean the engine bay. So I wanna get off all the sound deadening off the firewall. I want to get off any of these like little plastic pieces that are laying around. Ultimately, I just want to get this engine bay clear of everything that I can so that we can clean this fairly easily. Along with that, I also want to start tackling some of this wiring to see if I can start deleting any of it. I already have some of this stuff labeled with blue tape just to signify that this is stuff that I'm going to be wanting to take off. I already started taking apart a little bit of it. So like this, for example, this went to the washer fluid reservoir. This went to the AC compressor, just like things like that that I really want to get out of here just so we don't have a bunch of random wires laying around the engine bay. So I guess without further ado, let's get to work. I can already tell that this area over here is going to be an absolute pain to get all this stuff out because it's all tucked up behind like the brake booster and the fuse box and all that. Oh, well, that portion came out easy. I think while I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and take out the steering column just because I know it's going to have to come out eventually and it'll give me a bit better access to back there. I was going at the steering shaft for like a solid 45 minutes at least, and it just occurred to me that you have to take the bolts out because these splines, there's a groove for the bolt to go through. So of course, if the bolt is in there, then it can't slide around. But now, this should, here, I'm gonna put you up. It's so close. Oh, you're so close. What if I, like that? There's a little bit more room. Oh, yes. Yes. Get out of there. Get out of there. Yes. We got it, boys. I can go ahead and get this stuff out hopefully pretty easily. Okay, well, I mean, it's coming. I mean, that's most of it. Okay, now I can start tackling a lot of these plastics and things. I'm getting a screwdriver. Screw this. Get it? Screwdriver. Screw this. Get out of here. Come on. There we go. Oh, damn, everyone's showing up. Woo! Hi! Yeah. Oh. Yeah, watch yourself. These bitches flying. No, that's coming off. I'm gonna totally chop that bitch. Hey, there we go. So many quirky little rubber pieces and plastic pieces in this engine bay. So quirky.
20.
Oh!
Damn, man.
I'm gonna have to tackle this from the backside. Huh?
You can burp turkeys.
I did see that. They get an air sac in their chest, they just... Now that we've gotten the sound deadening heat shielding off here, all the plastic bits off, I think now it's gonna be time to tackle some of this wiring. This isn't gonna be fun. All right, so we're getting the fuse box all taken apart and we've gotten to the last relay, but this power wire underneath is in the way of it. But there's paint on the threads, and like when I go to try and take the nut off, it's flexing the entire fuse box. And I'm scared that it's gonna break. Gabe's telling me to hit it with the impact, but I don't know if that's a good idea. Do it?
Send it.
Gabe, would you like to record this? You gotta hold this bitch tight, like. Oh!
It flew out.
Oh, nice. It's off?
You did it.
Yeah, you see like this paint was on the tip and it got all up in the threads and that was sketchy. Now I didn't go over this because I just didn't record. But to get like relays and stuff out, there's just a little tab right here. Push it in and then you can push the relay holder out. It's pretty cake. Now that we got this all out of the way, I'm essentially just gonna trace all the wires that come into this and then go ahead and try and start taking out different fuses and wires Realistically, you should probably do this with like wiring diagrams, and I'll probably end up referring to some wiring diagrams. But for the most part, I'm just gonna try and wing it. So I'll check back in a little bit. All right, so we've spent probably like the last hour and a half tracing the wires just for, where is it? Tracing the wires for the windshield washer fluid pump, and it's not fun. I seriously underestimated how annoying it is getting up underneath the dash and trying to trace wires under there. Even with wiring diagrams, it's still a bitch. Like, I kind of know, I have like a somewhat okay grasp of how to read a wiring diagram, but it's just time consuming to the point where I'm debating if it's worth it. I think I'm going to spend the night thinking on it, and then I'll tell you what I've decided next time I see you, which is going to be like in a couple seconds. So yeah, I'll see you then. All right, so it's the next day. I've done some thinking, and I've decided it's definitely not worth my time to try and deal with this wiring, or ultimately just do all the things that I've been wanting to do. I feel like I've really strayed away from keeping things simple, you know? I've tried so hard to make this car simple that in turn I've made it complicated, and with all the time that I'm gonna have to sink into doing this, I'm ultimately just losing out on seat time. You guys see this car, you haven't quite seen the underside, but like everything that I'm trying to do, it's not worth my time really to try and make it this clean, because ultimately the chassis is, I wouldn't say junk, it's usable, but it's not worth the time that I'm trying to put into it, if that makes sense. All the stuff that I'd be doing, it'd kind of just be like polishing a turd at this point, and I just don't think it's worth it. I still plan on cleaning up the engine bay a bit. I'm gonna give it a vacuum and give it a wash just to make it look a little bit better, but I don't think I'm gonna go through the time of like, say, painting the engine bay or something like that, because like I said, this chassis is just not worth doing all that work on, you know? But I still think I have an idea of how I can clean up this wiring without deleting all the wires. So yeah, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna vacuum this shit out. All right, so I feel like I didn't do a great explanation on what my plans are with the wiring right now, so I'm just gonna go like a little bit more in depth. For example, with this plug that normally went to the alarm horn that sits on this side of the car, I wanna try and get this all tucked up over by the fuse box. But since the ground block for this ground block normally sits on this side of the car, I can't exactly get it over there because the ground block is keeping other things on this side of the car grounded to this side. So I can't necessarily take that all the way over to the fuse box. But if I just cut out this ground wire right here and where it goes to in the ground box, I can just leave the power wire attached and put it over there. And since obviously there's not gonna be anything plugged into this plug, there won't be any power going to the little bit of exposed wire that's gonna be sitting here. And since the power wire is nice and concealed within the plug, I won't have an exposed hot wire sitting over near the fuse box. So I'm gonna get going, starting to cut off some of this ground wiring, and then we'll get everything tucked up over there. Alrighty, and just like that, we have minimized the plugs that are gonna be on the passenger side of the car. So we have the two headlight plugs, the corner light plug, the temperature sensor plug, and then the two ground blocks that belong to this side of the car. Dog, see, like, I simultaneously need gloves, but I can't use gloves for a lot of the stuff that I'm trying to do. I just need to get, like, thin latex gloves, but then I have to go through a bunch of gloves. I know, but I don't want to use his latex gloves. All right, we gloving up. Aw, son of a bitch. Shut up. I'm using the pinch and roll technique.
That's the best technique.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like your balls.
Exactly. I wasn't gonna say it, but that's what I was trying to insinuate. I think it pretty much does it. Now we can start sorting these plug wires out of this mess. Alrighty, it's a new day. I didn't show you guys what I did before, but got all the wiring all routed up into here, got it all tucked away, and honestly, it's looking pretty nice. I'll probably do it up a little bit better, but now you can kind of see we're only dealing with this many wires, where as before we had a lot more. I'll try to get like a clip to like give you guys a comparison, but yeah, this is a lot less wiring than was in the engine bay before. With all that out of the way, I think it's time to get this thing cleaned. So I wasn't really feeling like having to set up the power washer and all that. Thankfully, I found this at my house. It's called a turbojet. I tested it out. It puts out like decent enough pressure, but not enough for me to feel like I'm gonna damage anything in here. So we're gonna be using this today. Honestly, I don't think I'm gonna go like super hard cleaning it. I really just want to get all this grime off. Yeah, so you can kind of see like, that's like decent pressure. I think this will do good enough. You know what? This is cleaning up pretty decent. I'm gonna go find me a brush. Get some of this agitated. I'm really not trying to get my feet wet. You know, on camera, it's looking pretty minty, I must say. Whether or not it'll look like this when it dries, I'm not sure. I highly doubt it. We'll see what it looks like in about 20 minutes. The engine bay is pretty much all dry, and I've got to say, this looks pretty damn good. I'll throw up a picture right now of what the engine bay looked like before, but I gotta say, this cleaned up probably even a little bit better than I expected. Of course, it's not perfect. It's still a little dirty here and there, but overall, based on how the rest of the chassis looks, like, I'm super happy with it. Next step is gonna be cutting off all of these tabs that aren't gonna be used. All right, so we're over at Gabe's car. A couple brackets that I can already think of off the top of my head that we're definitely gonna be able to cut off are where these brackets sit over on this strut tower. We'll definitely be able to take this bracket off because he doesn't even use it on his car. Cruise control bracket, we're definitely gonna take that off. I know that the stock airbox bolts to it, but we're not gonna be using stock airbox anyway, so that can go. I know down on this frame rail in my car is where the old power steering reservoir sat, and that gets relocated over onto the engine mount arm underneath the intake manifold anyway, so we can cut off that bracket. And I guess other than that, if I have any doubts about ones that I'm cutting off, I'll just come back over here. Alrighty, so I actually ended up getting all of them completely off. I'm not gonna lie, on this one, I actually grinded a little bit too much and it went through just barely. I don't really care that much though, because I mean, I do kinda at some point want to just cut out these front sections. That's gonna be later on down the road, but as of right now, I'm not gonna care about that little pinhole. Literally, I'm just gonna paint over it and act like it's not there. So next step, we're gonna sand these all down with 400 grit sandpaper, primer it, and then we'll move on to painting after that. All right, Master Body Worker Kellen here. All right, primer's all done. We got 2 coats down, just gave it a little bit of a wet sand. Now we're gonna apply paint. I'm honestly not sure if this is gonna be the right color. It's a duplicate of original GM colors. I mean, it looks close enough, but I'm just not sure. Oh shit. Oh no.
I mean,
Get down there too, get down there too. That is not as dark as the cap would suggest.
I mean, let's just hope that if we put a second coat and it dries, it'll be kind of decent.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
We're hoping.
hoping.
What sucks too is all these spots are in the most visible parts of the car.
True.
I don't know how I feel about this. Oh my gosh. No, see, yeah, look at the cap. Look at the cap. The cap would suggest that this is pretty much the same color. I feel lied to. I feel straight up lied to. Maybe the next coats will be better.
Next, like,
Next,
3 coats?
yeah. How many coats are you supposed to do? Like 3,
Looking
4?
like this now, we should do like 3. See how it looks.
Bet. All right, so we just got done with coat number 2, and it's actually looking a lot better. Like, it's definitely not a perfect blue, but it's blending in actually as the coats go on. Like, you can definitely still see like where the primer was hit. Like, we still need to do like another 2 coats probably, but it's getting there. I didn't have any high hopes, I'm being honest, but it's getting there. All right, so we just got done putting the 4th coat on. We could let it dry, got all the masking off. And I've got to say, for an eyeball paint match, this turned out pretty damn good. Like, look at that. In some spots, you can definitely tell like old paint from new paint, but that ultimately just came down to like bad masking. Like, you can kind of tell in the strut towers a little bit. But overall, this paint turned out really, really good. There's still a couple rust spots within the engine bay that I'm thinking I might take care of. I haven't fully decided yet because they're pretty minor. That's all that's going to be in this video. Next video, we're going to focus on getting the front subframe out, refreshing the front subframe, giving it paint, cleaning it up, and then we'll throw it back in, and then at that point, we'll pretty much be ready to throw in the M52, I'm pretty sure. Unless there's something like super obvious that I'm forgetting. I'll definitely think on it. But yeah, that's going to be next video. Next video, front subframe. That's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope y'all have a nice day, and I will see you in the next one.